It is award season, and that means it's time to rank this year's Best Picture nominees from worst to best. This year we have 10 whole movies up for Best Picture. Some of them I liked, some of them I didn't, and some of them I was mixed on. Typically when it comes to the Best Picture nominees at the Oscars, there's usually one or two I really like, one or two I really don't like, and the rest of them I just kind of think are okay. This year's a little bit different in that I don't really dislike any of these 10 movies. They all have things about them that I like and that I dislike. And even the ones that I didn't enjoy as much, I can at least respect. I also think that this year is a personal record for me in terms of the number of these movies I was able to see in the theater. I was able to see every single one of these movies except Bugonia in the theater. I also was able to see all 10 of these movies before the actual award ceremony, which I don't know if has happened before. And as per usual, I'll include a few minor spoilers for these movies, but nothing too serious. Nothing that will ruin your experience if you haven't seen some of these movies yet. Without further ado, let's get started. In last place is going to be The Secret Agent. The Secret Agent was a movie that was just not on my wavelength at all. While I liked the characters and the production design, the plot made no sense and was way too drawn out. There are way too many subplots, and there are a lot of plot points that just needed more explaining. Maybe if I was more familiar with Brazilian history and Brazilian culture, I would have understood this movie better, but as of right now, this movie just went over my head. At number 9 is going to be Hamnet. Hamnet's a movie that I enjoyed more than I thought I would. I really loved the performances and the production design, and I really was drawn into the love story between Will and Agnes and loved watching their relationship evolve. However, I thought the movie's exploration of grief was very surface level, and I wish more time was given to the parents processing their child's death. The whole hook of this movie, which is the semi-true story of William Shakespeare and his wife grieving the death of their child, is only like the last 15 to 20 minutes of the movie. So while this movie wasn't a bad experience by any means, it just felt so surface level. At number 8 is going to be Frankenstein. Frankenstein was a mixed bag for me. I really love the production design and the visual aesthetic of the movie, and it does a great job developing the character of Victor Frankenstein and exploring his motivation and his worldview. I also think that the rest of the performances, such as Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth, and Christoph Waltz, are all excellent. However, I just had trouble getting invested in this iteration of Victor Frankenstein, and I thought that the monster segment of the movie was way too short. On top of that, the movie makes some changes from the book that very much detract from the story. So while I was overall positive on this movie, I did think it left a lot to be desired. At number 7 is going to be Train Dreams. Train Dreams is another movie that I ended up liking a lot more than I thought I would. I love the quiet and slow atmosphere it builds, and how it examines the passage of time through the lens of a single person's life. Of course, the cinematography is excellent, and the movie is beautifully made. I love the vibrant colors and just the sense of emptiness that it captures. The performances are top-notch. It's really a shame that Joel Edgerton's never been nominated for an Oscar because he's just so good in everything. And honestly, I think the acting standout for me is William H. Macy, who kind of reminds us here that he's capable of giving a really good dramatic performance. However, the movie does fall into some prestige drama-isms that bring it down a tad bit. It can be a bit boring and a little bit pretentious. I also really hate the fact that this movie was released on Netflix. I was lucky that I got to see it in a theater because I think that this is a movie that demands to be seen in a big screen in a quiet room with no distractions. I imagine that if I would have watched this movie on my couch in my living room, I probably would not have enjoyed it nearly as much. So overall, Train Dreams is a visceral cinematic experience that perfectly captures the themes and atmosphere it's going for. At number 6 is going to be Sentimental Value. This is a movie that I really wanted to love because I'd heard so many great things about it, but it just fell a little bit flat for me. The movie is incredibly well shot and directed. I love the framing and the color palette and the way that the film shoots its central location. The movie also features some of the best performances of the year. All 4 lead performers give it their all acting-wise and encapsulate their characters perfectly. However, I do wish this movie came to just a little bit more of a definitive crescendo at the end. The third act feels like it peters out a bit. I also wish that the character arcs were a little bit better defined. I'm still not 100% sure what the main character was supposed to have learned. So while I liked Sentimental Value, and maybe I'll like it more on rewatch, as of right now it just didn't quite land for me. At number 5 is gonna be Bugonia. I'm not typically a Yorgos Lanthimos fan, so I didn't really expect to like this movie. While I didn't love it, I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I would. The performances are solid, especially Jesse Plemons, and I love the atmosphere and vibe of the movie. I also think it explores a lot of interesting themes and ideas that reflect the real world very well. However, I thought the movie lost a bit in the third act, and I thought that the messaging felt a bit confusing. So overall, Bugonia was not one of my favorites of the year, but it was one that I definitely enjoyed. At number 4 is going to be Marty Supreme. This movie was another wild ride from Josh Safdie. This movie does what the Safdie brothers do best. It creates a 2-hour panic attack. Every scene just keeps building that tension and adding more and more stress until it comes to a crescendo. Of course, Timothée Chalamet gives a great performance as a character who, despite being so selfish and destructive, is also fascinating and alluring. Overall, Marty Supreme is an excellent addition to Josh Safdie's filmography. Bringing us into the top 3 is going to be One Battle After Another. One Battle After Another is just such a well-made and engaging movie. It manages to communicate so much information in such a small amount of time. On top of that, the performances are some of the best of the year, and I love the way that the movie is shot and edited. Every shot has so much life and energy and is so intricately designed. Each character is so layered and nuanced, and they don't really fall into action movie archetypes. However, I do have some issues with the morality of the movie. I have some issues with a film that glorifies violence to this extent. I also think there's some tonal inconsistency, especially with regards to the villains of the movie. That being said, this is still a really solid addition to Paul Thomas Anderson's filmography, and honestly, this is the film that I expect to win Best Picture, even if I don't think it should. It's the one that I expect to. Our runner-up is going to be F1. F1 was just another perfect dad movie from Joseph Kosinski. It's the perfect combination of exciting race sequences with layered characters, fun humor, and an engaging story. While Brad Pitt absolutely plays Brad Pitt, he does a good job making his character engaging and making you root for him. The movie makes you really invested in his dynamic with Damson Idris and Kerry Condon. And of course, the racing scenes are excellent. Every sequence is so well thought out and so visceral that it feels like you're actually there. It's a film that just does everything a sports drama is supposed to do. However, my number 1, my favorite of this year's Best Picture nominees, and honestly might be my favorite movie of this year period, is Sinners. Sinners is the perfect example of how you do smart horror. The metaphors and the themes are perfectly blended with the story and the character arcs. On top of that, the characters are layered and nuanced, and the performances are perfect. The movie also features some of the best and most original works of music of the year, and I love the production design and the aesthetic of rural Mississippi in the 30s. Overall, Sinners is one of the best and most original movies of the past few years, and I'm glad that the Academy gave it the recognition it deserves. So that's it. That's my ranking of this year's Best Picture nominees. What were your favorite and least favorite of this year's nominees? Also, what films do you think were deserving of a nomination but didn't get them? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more videos like this, click this playlist right here. I've already done my most disappointing and my most surprising movies of 2025, and I'll have a video where I rank every single movie that I saw in 2025 out in a week or so. As per usual, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Bye.